Bright suns and rising moons, fellow droids, welcome to another episode of Not the Droids podcast.
And I'm Danny, and it's Christmas.
Yay!
Felt like
Um,
we had to acknowledge that when this
it is
releases, it'll
actually
be the day
Christmas.
after Christmas, but today is actually Christmas.
No, we had our nice situation, and we're back here talking about Skeleton Crew, episode 5, titled You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates, which I think was obviously perfect for this episode.
This had the most Goonies feeling of all the episodes so far.
I
And
feel very strongly that I need to watch the Goonies
I feel very
because
strongly that I want you to watch The Goonies and Treasure Planet.
yes, I'm gonna have to watch both of those because every that happens and every like summary or anything that I like read
They
about
reference
Skeleton
it.
Crew, they reference both of those things over and over and over
Yeah.
again. And so I laugh. So I don't have any reference for Goonies, but this episode to me was such a comedy and yet so serious at the same time because the kids are really kidding in this
Yes.
episode.
They are jumping on beds. They are running amok.
And I feel like Jod's patience with them is at the bare
We're at the peak.
minimum.
We're
Like,
ready to be done.
so we started the episode, which
Parent update.
it was so excited. Well, because at first I was watching and I was like, what is this at Atten? And then I see Wendell in his little round, his little cubicle.
Mhm.
And I was just laughing because obviously the parents are trying to do something, right? Neil's mom, I forget her name. I think it's Judah
I think so.
or Nuna. Nuna. I think I had found it.
But
So I just thought it was really cute that she came and he's like, this is not the plan. And she's like, we have to do this now. And they have no chill when she was like, don't let anyone catch you with this. And the first thing he did was Numa. So Numa was like so sketch when she showed up, and neither of them have any chill. She was like, you need to plug this in, don't get caught with it. And the first thing he did was get caught with it. And I was
now,
like,
now I'm gonna add this though. These droids are tracking everything. He didn't get caught because, well, he was a little obvious. He didn't get caught because of that. He got caught because there was an energy surge from his computer.
which is wild. And so maybe that's why there's so many security droids because they
Yeah.
can monitor that.
They monitor
Humans cannot
everything.
monitor that.
But I saw a lot of women him when he was like,
I thought that was so funny where the droid was both hands at the same time,
yeah.
please.
And then
Um,
we see a lot of Fern and her mom when she's like, delete your
me-
memory.
memory override, shut down, please.
Yes.
I like that they show that Fern's mom was trying to go the normal route, and it's been a while, right? She's not getting any response
We can
from a
like
supervisor.
Numa's like, this isn't happening. We need to do this on our own because she's high enough and she's not getting anywhere now. This is not going to work.
And he did say they're just trying to get a message through the barrier without the location.
So the thing is, we now know that they know that their planet is unplottable, that this is a
People
secret.
don't know.
It is hidden. So like, and I was reading some threads. Skeleton Cruise Threads is a fun place to be because you see everyone's theories. And one of the people's theories that I was reading was that I don't agree with this theory, is that the planet is cut off and the lack of information and education is because of being cut off. Whereas I'm on the side of that.
I think it's a choice to limit the information because if people don't know that that's the situation, they're not going to try and leave, right? Like, they're
Yeah.
perfectly happy where they are. This is the first instance that these parents have ever even had to think about what's beyond the barrier,
Yes.
right? They don't know. I read a thing because I again they keep citing the old republic, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know when was the old republic because clearly many generations have come, and someone said it was in thousands of years. So this planet has been in this protected space for that long.
I keep seeing other theories on this is that they reference the Old Republic, but it might actually be the High Republic, and that the time frame might not be what we think.
So
And that
I'm
because we're
confused.
trying to frame it in what we know about the Star Wars universe. And some of that might be wrong just because we don't have all the information. So I'm curious to
Yeah.
see. There's also discussion that this is later on in the episode is that the saber that we see is a Republic saber. It's the High Republic saber.
Oh.
So I haven't seen any updates yet because the High Republic people will be on that information. But there is conversation that the saber is very reflective of the High Republic.
So that's where it's just like, I think there's that piece of it that I just don't have
Yeah.
enough knowledge. And I think it's kind of nice. I guess I like that I'm coming from that place because I don't know. The speculation is so fun, right? And so it is interesting that we're just trying to get a message through the barrier to our kids without relaying the location of at Atten.
I felt like they were trying to get them the location.
But that's where I was just like, how are they gonna not say anything about the location, but what's the message they're trying to send? Is it
Yeah.
that and
I'm gonna have
and
to rewatch because in my head, and I may have misheard, I thought they were trying to send them the coordinates to be able to get back home.
oh, I might have missed. I thought they were saying we're not sending the location, it's just a message.
Oh, see, I thought they were trying to send. I thought in my head they knew where their planet, they had their planet's coordinates, and they're trying to send them so the kids
Send
can make it
it.
home. I haven't done a second rewatch, so I
I
do need to
didn't
do
either
that.
this
It didn't
time.
happen this time around because
I mean, it's
holidays.
Christmas. But so it was kind of nice to see that. And then it was jarring because I was expecting when they turned on 33 for there to be a moment where
Hmm.
33 was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you, danger." But I think KB said she overrode
Yeah,
where it's going. So he knew exactly what was happening. And he was
yeah.
like, "Nope, Fern is my captain," which was nice. So it was interesting that he was just like, "Yes, I don't know the location, but I know where the captain's hideaway is." And I
Yeah.
don't know if you caught this. So in the last episode, when I was re-watching, and I've seen clips of it again, when Jude Law's character, when they're coming into the atmosphere for the last planet, I forget what it's
Hmm.
called. He says Reynard's gross, I think, like as a Merlin's beard or that sort
Yeah.
of thing. And then they like reveal that the captain of the ship that they are on was that person.
And not
Um,
only that, we now know our ship name and what happened to
officially,
our ship.
yes. So
It's
the ship is
officially the Onyx Cinder, which has a
Cinder.
great Lego set that I'm planning to order this weekend.
I thought we got some really good shots of the ship this episode, especially with how in disarray it is.
Yes.
But so that was Captain Reynard, right? Is that how you said it? Reynard? There was no R in there. Captain Tack Renaud. That was the name. And Jod is finally excited. You see Jod.
I know this name. It also becomes campfire story time.
Yeah, oh,
Forget
I
what
thought that was
33
so
knows.
cute.
He's like, I got this now. Let me tell you.
The history of what happened, which I think it's nice that they finally know
Yeah.
how the ship got to Atten, what they were
And
looking
what the
for.
treasure of Aten is.
So this is again, it's an old republic, the last old republic mint,
Hmm.
which makes sense of why they have such shiny money.
Yes.
And I think that also makes sense because we've talked about the value of that money on at Atten versus elsewhere in the
Yeah.
universe. And it would make sense if the mint is on at Atten and they're creating the money that they have a lesser value for it because they have
They
more
just make it.
abundance.
The
Yeah, they
pennies.
but that is quite the treasure, right? So we learned that at the end of the episode, which we'll get to, but it makes a lot of sense why people keep talking about the eternal treasure because it's a mint. They can just make money over and over again. So I like that they're going to this layer, and we've seen shots of treasure in clips and teasers that they've released, and we have discovered it eventually. It is Captain Reynard's treasure room,
Hmm.
which it felt very like Aladdin. What's the name of?
Oh, the
God, we're too old for this.
I know,
What
right?
is it? I know what they're like. Who dare disrupts my slumber? What is it called?
I'm getting it. Can't find the name. The Cave
What is
of
it? Cave of
Wonders.
Wonders. I just came to me too. I was like, oh, the Cave of Wonders. But like it's because the way he's describing, he's like Skull Ridge Mountain is in deep in the mountain is his treasure trove or his lair.
Yes.
And so they go to the planet. I literally just told you what it was, and I've already lost it. Lanuka? Is that what I said? Lanupa. So they go, and I love that they're flying, and the cops, and he's just like, no one would dare traverse this mountain range. And they're just pleasure yachts going through.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I think we've been
I
gentrified.
think people are traversing.
That
I guess
was
they're
so
not
funny.
traversing, they're just going to the spa.
Yeah, it's a spa. And I honestly loved 33 this whole episode. He's like, oh, what have they done? This used to be pools of acid. And
That's where we tortured people.
I know it was just so funny that he spent most of this episode being like a ratchety old man,
Yeah.
being like, you have ruined.
33's hips. I'm like, ooh, I feel you. Just
And
watching you walk.
we know that 33 can walk normally. And that's where he can stand up to full height. I don't know if he can walk normal. I
Like he
assume
can
he
stand up
can.
full height. I think he needs a hip replacement or two.
But, and then this is when you see the kids being kids a lot. You saw a little moment earlier in the episode where Wim finally shows some sort of remorse or
Well, and
like,
also being homesick
I
and
miss my dad.
Jod gives him some advice.
Terrible advice.
Your focus determines your reality, which is not a
Yeah.
Jod original.
Oh, it's not. Is that a Yoda?
That is, does that sound like Yoda?
No, it doesn't.
That is the advice that Qui-Gon gave to Anakin.
So here's the thing, because we still don't know Jod's origins, right? Why, if he was trained in the Force or if whatever, but does that, if that's something that Qui-Gon has said, either he heard it from someone else or it's an original. And do you think that's where Jod heard it?
It was tragic when he said it to Anakin. So
Or are they just nodding back because
there's
nods
a lot of
to,
nod backs, especially to Phantom Menace, but it also makes you wonder, has Jod at one point been around Qui-Gon or Anakin?
or Anakin? Oh, I didn't even think about Anakin.
Because it was told to Anakin.
And maybe Anakin said it again. So that's where I'm saying if he's saying something that was said by someone else, do we think? I think he heard it. That's where I'm like, I'm so curious about his background and
Yeah.
like where he's because his advice was also just detach yourself from these attachments, just forget about them. And
Yes.
women's, what a terrible thing to say.
But it's a
But that's also a
very
very Jedi thing, no?
it's a
Did
very
like
Jedi belief to not have attachments.
And so that's where it's just like maybe he was in training like a Padawan, maybe. And then when Order 66 and all of that stuff happened, he just became bereft and then a pirate to survive.
We'll just have to see.
Ugh, I don't know. But as they're running around, they're trying to be the wise ones, which I thought was hilarious. Guys, there's so many creatures in the universe that just dress these kids up and they might not be kids. And the bribing that he had to do, he used the last of their money to be like,
He is
just
not a good barterer.
I
Like
think at
the
that point,
value we know of those credits, I feel like he could have bartered a bit better than he did.
I feel like at the end he was desperate because
He
he ran
was.
into that bounty hunter
Yeah,
and he
bounties have now been
knew.
called in on him and the kids.
So I feel like he knew that they had no time. And that's where the frustration with the kids came because this is the nicest place the kids have seen
Yeah.
since they have left home, right?
Even include home's nice, but this is
Nice.
glitzy and shiny.
Right. But
We're all
jumping on the bed, running around, and he's like, stop it. He
mm,
screamed at them. And I think they looked at him because it's the first time he's assert dominance
yes.
since they met him. And it was pretty much foreshadowing for how this episode ended up going.
Yes.
Um, but we do get snippets of KB finally being worried about something that
Hmm.
had no context. And
Yeah.
we have the context because we know that she has a medical condition,
We
but
don't though.
we have that she has something.
We know there's something, but we don't know what it is.
I think it's something with her eyes. the few snippets of KB that we got, she's always wearing her visor more often than not, I feel like
Mhm.
now. And then in the planet, I know there was steam everywhere, but she was very concerned about being in those atmospheres. And I think it's because I think there's something with her eyes. And maybe that's why she has the visor. It's actually eye protection.
We don't have actual confirmation on any of that yet. Right now, it's all speculation.
But I think I do think that's maybe what
So,
that
but our
is.
friends split up and they're in new teams, even though they wanted to be in old teams.
My favorite is when they were picking teams. I want to be with Wim. No, I don't trust Jod. And then 33's I need to be with Captain. And Jules, I don't
Like, we're
care.
about to die. Everybody's coming for us.
Let's just go. So I wonder if it's important that they were the banking clan, whatever that is, was there. And I think we got a flash of Jabba the Hutt in
No, it was
there.
actually Jabba, but he does.
So I don't know if you had the subtitles on, but when the first, so not the one in the cave, but the one just in the mud pit,
Those are two.
very different creatures. But the first one in the mud pit, when they spoke in the caption, it said the hut. And I don't know, is that just the creature is called the hut because it's Jabba the Hut?
I
And
think
that's
that's
where,
his species is Hut. So we don't
so
have
maybe
a
that's why it
name.
was just a hut
Yes.
creature.
So we don't have context of if he's someone we have known or have heard
Yeah.
about.
Well, there was no name, so I didn't
Yeah.
know if it's like if that's why. But so as they're searching around, it became like a this is where we listen to 33 complain to everything. The
Hmm.
kids are just looking at everything, looking at people, right? They're looking around and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
But Fern is smart, be like, let's follow the pipe
it makes sense because she was just like you said, it's deep in the mountains. So obviously, wherever the mud is coming from is probably
deep in the
deep in the
mountain.
mountain." And they made a friend, which was hilarious.
His friend just wants stories, man.
Vernon Wim is just like they said if he said if we entertain him, he'll help us. And it's like, oh well, that was
We
quite
make a bargain.
helpful.
We're entertainable, so
But I do love we didn't talk about how Jod has yet another name, and one of
yes.
the kids calls it out. I think it was Neil. How many names? Does
Yeah.
it another name? Dash sent in. So the pirates showing up, I understand why Jod was so concerned, right? Because I feel like the kids don't have, they've been in danger, but it's never been
Consistent
like,
danger from the same person.
yeah, and even the danger has felt like not dangerous. I
It's
don't
not
know if
like
that makes
death
sense.
danger.
Yeah, it's not death danger. So I feel like they don't have a context for how dangerous those pirates are.
Yes.
And Jod is like, no, I think you do not understand how bad it's going to be if we run
Yeah.
into these
We need to
pirates.
focus. We need to get going. Let's figure out this acid pool that we have to get through.
Which was some good critical thinking,
Yes.
right? It's just like I like how the kids have such like a thing where it's just like, well, pirates don't value life like everyone else does. They value
Mhm.
treasure. And so that's where it's just like when they get into the cave and he's like, don't touch anything. It could
Cave
be
of
booby
Wonders, don't
traps.
touch it.
I was like, this is the Cave of Wonders. And as
When
soon
Wim
as
saw that lightsaber, I'm like, oh,
I
Wim's
was like
touching something.
shouting, and I was like, Wim, no,
See, in
no.
my head, I know what's gonna happen here.
But
And
he
it
ends up getting
happened.
distracted from it, which is good. But no, it was kind of jarring when they found the console and you could see Jude Law is such a good actor. You could see his face and how he reacted to finding out that the treasure was not just a treasure,
It
but
was
an
the
old
mint.
mint. Because also he had 33 who was plugged into the
Yeah.
system refill the pit with acid. So the assumption is he killed all of those pirates
Yeah, I don't
that
think
were coming after
I
him.
think he killed the
I don't think
lackey.
he killed
I
I think
think
he killed the lackeys who were coming through,
I
but I
think
also
Wolfman
think
and Urkel are still out there.
I think also the kids didn't really react to the fact that the acid pool probably killed those pirates until I feel like they didn't realize that it was dangerous until
Hmm.
Jod legitimately used the knowledge that he had to backstab these kids finally. And I knew it was coming when they were called back to what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew this guy is gonna backstab them. I'm so mad. But I like the way that he did it. I was so proud of Fern because she held her ground for a
Yes.
very long time. I think Jod was just hoping that she would be yield, but I
Yep.
think she truly did not think that Jod would hurt her.
Yeah.
And honestly, it got to the point that I don't know if he would have done it.
I don't know that he would have done it. I think him knowing she's a child, that
Yeah.
he would have gotten to the point if he had to, if he just prick her and she'd yield. These aren't
I
war-torn kids.
I think they're very snowflakey, right? So I wonder if he kept pushing her to yield
Mhm.
and the knife at her throat.
That was a bit much, but
That was a bit much, but I think he was trying to be
I
very
think he was just like
fair.
I don't think he was going to actually fight her. I think he knew that he could get her to yield.
And poor 33 is like, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I have to abide by the code. It's my programming. And I will say, very quick thinking from Wim. Here's the thing. Do you think Jod wanted 33 to take them under captive protocol or whatever so that he could also just have them come back on the ship and protect and bring them back to
I think he was
Atten?
going to bring them back to the ship because also he is still their way into the planet. Because planet still
Yeah.
has defenses. How do you get back into the planet? These kids were lost. I brought them back to you.
They're not going to shoot him down if the kids are on the ship. So that's why he's like, but he wanted control over everything. I just can't get over the change in his facial expression when he decided
Mm,
to just do that. Because he could have
yeah.
done it at any point,
He could have.
right?
He's
Like,
been saving it for when it was most useful for him. I also don't know if this
um,
is the most useful time for him.
no, I feel like he should have waited till he
He could
got
have
back
just kept
on the
going
ship.
and been fine until necessary. Him
Oh,
has the
we missed
saber.
the. Oh my God, totally even forgot. That was building up to such a moment, and I screamed laughing so hard when it was upside down.
He has it's upside down. We're not, and as soon as it happened, I was laughing so hard because I knew that was what was going to happen.
And then Jod took it, right? The way
He
a
didn't take
Jedi
it till
does.
after Wim decided to
After
be
the
really.
kids.
Let me just Wim smart thinking on his part, but also
Well,
every
because
single time we've seen a trap, there's been spikes at the other side of it.
why would they do that? Like, where are they going now? And is Jod going to find them before he leaves the planet?
Or are the kids going to beat him back to the ship?
Or are they going to get
Because now
like,
he needs to find a way out of the acid pool.
but he can drain
Yeah,
the assumption. There must be a different way out of the mountain,
there has to be.
right?
But now these kids have disappeared, and that's how the episode ends. They're just gone.
It was just such a thing. I have an idea. Boom. And I was like,
I was
ooh.
a little bummed that Wim didn't still have the saber.
Now Jod has
Not
the
that he should, because he will definitely lose an
saber.
arm, but
I'm just very concerned about the next episode. Like, I
I'm
want Jod to
I
stay.
need the episode now.
Like,
I
because they
need
know one of these episodes, honestly, the pacing of this show has been such perfection.
yes.
Every episode, you're interested in the next, and also it's better.
It is building to something. So
And
I'm
that's
wondering,
what
are we going to spend another episode on this planet?
I
Or
feel like we have to. Where are the kids?
yeah, I feel like we have to. One of the things I enjoyed, I don't know if you noticed it, is when they came in to meet their new friend that they were entertaining.
Oh,
He's like, "Oh, don't trust him."
Jafala.
And Neil smells Jod.
I forget that Neil has such like a trunk nose until it's little
So
things
he's
like that.
using it. But you could tell that their new friend was
Yeah,
smelled
there
him
were
and
Neil had the best little one-liners, the smell them. And also, did you when 33 was telling stories about the old captain and how he got betrayed by his concubine, Neil's like, "What's a concubine?" And John was like,
I
"That's not
forget.
important." But that's where it's like, I love that. You see this, that's where it's like this thing at the end of the episode was so jarring for me because you see Jod with the kids
Hmm.
and you think, oh, he is trying. Obviously, he's in it for treasure. We all think he's in it for treasure.
Yes.
Like, I think he's starting to care for these kids. And then it's just like none of that care showed in his face. Not truly when he made that decision. He could have just said, just come. And that's where I'm like, I wish he did the thing with Fern after they got back to the ship because I feel like that would have been a smarter place.
We'll see where the next episode goes.
I don't know.
I have a feeling, I feel like we're not going to leave this planet until the next episode, or we might leave it mid-episode.
I think mid-episode. I'm hoping that we get a little bit of a because we only have 3 episodes left. So I wonder if we'll get a small parent update
Yeah.
or if they'll wait till the next one, the
So
seventh one.
I'm curious. So we shall see. But I'm really enjoying the series. I really
So
enjoyed this
much.
episode. I am going to rewatch it.
I'll rewatch it. Definitely. It's so cute. I still can't. What's a concubine? And I'm like, oh God. Every time I'm just like, I think about it. I'm like, I can just imagine Jod being like, ooh.
All right, these are kids.
But that's why I really enjoyed all of their personalities
Yes.
hitting at the same time.
And I
Um,
think we are due for a KB moment. We had
we
some
are,
good whim emotional moments this episode. Neil had an episode. We need more Fern. We've had some glimpses of Fern, but it was pre-journey. So I think we need an
yeah.
update on Fern, but I think we are due some KB background, and I'm wondering if we're gonna get a KB in distress background story.
I I wonder because honestly, after watching this episode and all the things that we've been talking about KB, I personally think there's something with her eyes, and I'm just very concerned and interested, right? What is the nature of it? And
Yeah.
like how much does that visor help, or is it just a band-aid
Yeah.
situation? So I feel like that has to be what's coming
And
because they've been
then,
slowly building it.
yes. So until next time, just remember,
We're not the droids you're looking for.
for the droids you're gonna get.